There are so many things to love about the DC universe, but if there is one constant I tend to find from a lot of people, it's the enjoyment of characters' friendships, of duos and team-ups. And we have a lot of fantastic ones we can take a look at. There's World's Finest, Batman and Superman. There's the Trinity with Wonder Woman. There's even Green Lantern and Green Arrow, or Flash and Green Lantern. That is exactly what this video is going to be about, except we're going to be looking at team-ups that either haven't been done before or maybe have loosely been done in the past, but just not enough focus or attention has been placed upon it. Now, I'm going to be looking at these team-ups in the idea of it being a comic book series, maybe even a mini series, but a story nonetheless within comic books. Also, to help streamline the video better, we're going to be looking at these teams based off of one Justice League character and their respective partner. I do feel if you create team-ups and duos with a Justice League character, that helps boost that character's popularity. So with that being said, let's get right into the first team up. This one might be obvious, but it is Batman and the Question. I think this one might be so obvious to so many people who, once again, love DC and love these characters, I probably don't even need to go into detail for you guys. However, the Question seems to have been making a huge name for himself over the past couple of months. And how do I know that? Not just because I've seen it all over the internet, but because I've seen it in myself. Out of nowhere, I have become so addicted to seeing the Question appear somewhere at some time. It doesn't even need to be live action. I just want to see the Question. I don't know what it is. I don't know where his popularity has risen from over the past couple of months, but it's here and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere right now, at least. You are essentially just taking two detectives to solve crimes or mysteries. Realistically, I don't know how anyone is going to hide or stop this tandem from figuring out what they want to figure out. I think they would be far too deadly. And that's exactly why I think their plot would need to be huge. It would need to consist of a lot of intelligent villains that belong to Batman and maybe even the Question. I've always thought it would be really neat to see the Question need to take on someone like the Riddler. So you could always involve Riddler in something like this. I think an awesome storyline would perhaps be Batman and the Question needing to unravel a mystery maybe laid out by Hush or laid out by the Court of Owls. Considering the Question does deal a lot with conspiracy theories, you could perhaps do a retelling of the Court of Owls where Batman hasn't discovered this cult yet, or he has discovered the Court of Owls. The Question has dug up even deeper, darker secrets about the cult and has gone to Batman so that the both of them can team up and take them down together. You could argue that these would be two guys who want to be the smartest guys in the room, but I would argue they would actually appreciate each other's talents and extreme intelligence and how they were capable of taking down a new threat from the Court of Owls or whoever the threat might be. So the next duo is Superman and Captain Atom. Now, hear me out here. It's a little bit different with this team up. This would require Superman to be a little more in his older age and Captain Atom to be one of the newer superheroes who are just recently making their name. Superman would be somewhere in his 50s, Captain Atom would be somewhere in his early to mid 20s, and the story would be about how Superman would understand that he could be Superman forever. He could probably even de-age himself if he just baked in the sun long enough. But even he wants an ending to his story, and he realizes that maybe his time is coming, and the Superman costume needs to be tucked away under his bed or in his closet at some point. He would take Captain Atom almost as his trainee to be able to be seen as that new Boy Scout, that next master and commander over all superheroes in the known world. He will potentially be the next superhero idol that everyone around the world looks at. Superman will see his power, his potential, the situation that got him into being Captain Atom in the first place, and how to control and harness his powers properly so he doesn't improperly lash out and lose control. And also, when I look at Captain Atom, I do see another Superman essence. I do see somebody who is the leader of a Justice League, who, like I said, is the idol of all superheroes that children look up to and say, I want to be like Captain Atom. He does remind me of a very staunch protector. Next is Wonder Woman and Zatanna. Now, Zatanna has had pairings, of course, with Batman, John Constantine, and many other characters. I do think bringing Zatanna into the fold of Wonder Woman would work a lot in her favor. Obviously, with Zatanna being a woman, she would potentially be allowed in Themyscira. She would be much more accepted being a woman than a man, of course. I think you're also really digging into the magical aspect, not just of Zatanna, but of Wonder Woman. And I'm not saying that Wonder Woman is devoid of the magical aspect, because we have seen it happen a lot for her in storytelling and power-wise over the years. But I do think a lot of the times when we think of Wonder Woman, we simply just think of a woman with super strength who knows how to fight like a Greek goddess. Maybe throwing Wonder Woman and Zatanna in a storyline where they have to take on Cersei would be really interesting. And even how potentially Wonder Woman learns some new tricks from Zatanna and vice versa. Personally, I'm really high on this duo, and I think Wonder Woman and Zatanna would be two people who would become very good friends and very trusted allies. Then I have Flash and Firestorm. Now, I know these two characters have been seen on screen with one another in the Flash TV show, and in all fairness, I cannot speak on what their relationship or story was like in that show. I could not keep up with it. I didn't really enjoy the Flash at all. But I think you're dealing with two characters who are so stupidly, insanely powerful that even they do not truly know the extent of what their power could actually reach. You're dealing with someone like the Flash who could completely tear apart the fabric of space and time and completely change timelines or create new universes like that. And with Firestorm, just another character you would not want to see lose control. It's not just all about being able to throw a fireball from time to time. It's density control over elements. It's reconstruction of said elements and atoms. He's one of the scientifically heavy superheroes. His powers can be a little difficult to understand, but regardless of that, super powerful. You got two characters who are scientists, super smart, would be able to play off of one another, being able to come up with new theories, new ideas, maybe even capable of making suits for one another so that they perhaps have a power cap that they can't reach over, because if they do, bad things happen. Or maybe being able to keep their body protected from their own power or from the power thrown to them by their villains. These are also two people that would understand the stakes that would have happened to them. The Flash getting these powers just purely based off of a lightning bolt, and Firestorm getting these powers off of a nuclear explosion. Two very big sporadic things that at one moment they were just regular old Barry and Ronnie, and then literally moments later their lives and just their being has been changed forever. And I think they would be able to connect on that. Then I have Green Lantern and Blue Beetle, and we did talk somewhat about this in some previous videos. I believe in the Blue Beetle Unpopular Opinions and in my Interstellar Space Justice League story. This duo does make a lot of sense. The Reach has been a longtime enemy of the Green Lantern Corps, and with Blue Beetle obtaining the Scarab and his power from a spacefaring species, it puts him right alongside with Green Lanterns who have to deal with spacefaring species every day. This also adds the exciting option of which particular Green Lantern you want Blue Beetle to team up with. Hal, John, Kyle, Guy, Jessica, you name it. If you wanted Hal to have the connection with Green Arrow, maybe Blue Beetle's connection could primarily be Jon Stewart or Kyle Rayner. That's personally one of the two I would go with. There's very interesting things you could do. The relationship between Blue Beetle and said Green Lantern would be strong, but Green Lantern would need to advocate for Blue Beetle, stating to the Guardians and the rest of the Lanterns, yes, he has a scarab and utilizes the power of a species that we don't get along with and don't trust in any way, but you can trust him. And you could watch Blue Beetle become a friend of the Green Lantern Corps, earn the trust of the Guardians, and maybe even become the world's finest of space. The next team up, and many of you might be surprised, but I decided to go with Martian Manhunter and Nightwing. This would be a very detective-heavy story, and I think where it would take these two characters is on an adventure of trying to track down some sort of serial killer, or maybe a group of serial killers. There's perhaps mass murderings in Bloodhaven that has brought Martian Manhunter to that city, and in which both him and Nightwing team up to try and figure it out. I also came down to this connection considering Martian Manhunter being a detective as his day job, and Nightwing having so many different careers in his history, and at one point being a police officer or a detective. Now, I'm very 50-50 on the idea of Dick Grayson having a police officer detective job. I think it works really well for Dick Grayson. It does not work well with him being Nightwing. So it would be cool if maybe at this stage in his career, he was maybe a police officer, but it won't last all that long because his priority of being Nightwing is much more important than what he has to do as a detective. But that connection is what draws these two characters together to uncover a sinister plot. I think there's a couple things this can do for each character. Martian Manhunter not only becoming more attuned with Nightwing and learning more about his personality, getting along with Dick Grayson in general, but also being able to understand what it means to be part of the Bat family. Not saying he is part of the Bat family, but saying he understands what Dick Grayson had to go through to be part of Batman's ranks, essentially. And then for Nightwing to understand a lot of what Martian Manhunter had to do in his life to be where he is now, and this idea of what it is to be an alien. Nightwing's persona is already alienated in a sense from Krypton and Superman. He's dating an alien woman in Starfire. Now he's befriending a Martian in Martian Manhunter, J'onn J'onzz. So there's a lot of cool dynamics here. Then last but not least, I have Aquaman and Swamp Thing. I'm pretty sure it was the New 52 you saw a little bit of their relationship, but it never made its way into being a really big duo, and I don't even really know if that was their goal in the first place. However, I do think it could be an interesting recurring duo. Aquaman can be a more or less stoic presence, and with Aquaman and Swamp Thing being two stoic beings bouncing off of one another, it would make for an interesting dynamic, because at what point which one kind of breaks, or at least breaks from the mold of always being stoic. There's once again interesting things you can do here as well, with the fact that both Aquaman and Swamp Thing tend to have problems with surface dwellers, not respecting the earth, even sometimes viewing them as annoyances and nuisances, beings that they have to put up with because there are so many of them in existence on the surface. Aquaman could think that the sea is his, and rightfully so, he is the king of it, he holds the power of the sea, but Swamp Thing's powers, what he's made of, just predates anything Aquaman is, or the sea in general. Plant life, earth life is just far more outdating of anything that Aquaman deems to be his. Maybe there is a threat that arises in Atlantis or somewhere in one of the oceans, but it's not necessarily threatening Aquaman, in which he thought it was. It's actually coming for Swamp Thing. That is when Aquaman realizes that this world is just far more older than anything he could have perceived to be. And seeing Swamp Thing have a story maybe more so underwater than he would on the surface is interesting as well. But there you go, guys. There's some ideas of DC team-ups and duos, whether they had their full-on run or just some sort of mini-series, and whether they be main continuity or Elseworld stories. It would be really great to see some of these characters be able to team up and work together and develop some type of connection. As per usual, you guys let me know in the comments what characters you would like to see team up in some sort of comic series. That is all I have for you on this one, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.